Well, I'm out on the Greenwater Lake to Echo Lake Trail again, one of my favorite trails. It's early May here in Washington State. Some of the parks and trails are opening up again. There's quite a few people out here today, but we're all doing our best to stay at least 6 feet apart. Just a beautiful day. It's almost 85 degrees down near Tacoma where I live, but it's probably 10 degrees, 20 degrees cooler up here in the mountains, so really pleasant here in the trees. I'm enjoying a beautiful hike. Thank you for coming along. As always, if you like these videos, please like and subscribe. Giant trees through here. Lots of rain and snowmelt lately, so the river is full. It's gone over the trail in a couple places, but still passable. Those rapids sound lovely down there. A lot has changed since I was here last. The river is a lot fuller. There was a system of trails down in here the last time I was here. Now it's pretty much in the river. Beautiful though. Well, it's been a nice hike so far. So pretty out here in the woods, walking along this little river, and then a creek runs into it. So lots of opportunities for paintings, lots of things to paint. Here's the subject I picked for today. I'm gonna zoom in on that clump of birch trees. I think those are birches on that little outcropping of land with the rapids running in front of it. I may throw in one of these mossy logs or two to add interest to the composition. We'll see. I hiked about 2 hours to get here, but that was with a lot of rambling around looking for something to paint for today, something that had a interesting point of view with some interesting light. Lots of potential subjects, but here's the one that really caught my eye today. The sun's behind a cloud at the moment, but when it comes back out, it's going to hit those trees and really light them up, which is fun. So I'll get set up. Got my colors laid out. I'm going to start with a turpentine wash and just rough in the kind of tone of the scene. The colors, what I see are a lot of cadmium yellow and red in the wood and in the moss and in the grass. I see some cerulean blue and some ultramarine blue. in the trees, and I see maybe a hint of phthalo green in the water. And what I have is sap green, which is kind of like a warmer phthalo green, so I think that'll work if I lay that in first. So I'll rough in the scene. I have my composition on my iPhone here cropped in on a small section of the view out in front of me. So I'll go from there. I'll get a wash down, laying out the tones on the panel. It's a 9x12 panel today that I prepared, given a little bit of texture. I've got the 1/3 lines laid out on the panel to help me with the composition. Once I have the wash in, I'll let that set up just a little bit, and then I'll wipe away the lightest lights and do the drawing that way. You might notice that I'm kind of scrubbing the canvas as I do this initial block in. I'm scrubbing off those pencil lines. I don't want those showing through in case I don't fully paint over this initial wash. Alright, now I'm going to step back and enjoy this beautiful location and let that wash set up just a little bit. Let the turpentine evaporate and the oil paint harden just a little, and then I'll go in and blend and remove to do the drawing. You might notice that as I do the drawing, I'm kind of going by instinct, looking out at the scene and trying to capture on the canvas in a natural way what really interests me. So it's not I'm not reproducing exactly what I see out there. For instance, I like this red log here. I like this little bit of a greenish red log here. I have this one, but I'm catching this little highlight for that log to make it stand out just a little more. And I've also greatly reduced the number of birch trees out there. If I tried to paint each and every one of those, it would just be a flat plane of lines going everywhere. It wouldn't register, so I've greatly reduced the number of trees I'm trying to paint. So this is roughly the composition I'm after, what I've come up with. You can see I've captured those main elements and brought out the lightest lights. The lightest light is going to be the highlight on those main few birch trees above that reddish fallen log. That'll put the point of interest right about here, which is near one of those 1/3 intersection lines, which is about where you want it Another point of interest will be here. There'll be some interesting soft edges and things going on here, which is also near that 1/3 intersection. So I'll be really happy if it works. What I'm doing is just playing and following my instincts a bit, what I know has worked before and what's attracting me to the scene. And I'll just see where the paint leads me now. So I took a little step back there, and I'm liking what I see. I need to also put in those highlights on the water. I forgot that's also a dramatic point in this scene. I need to erase away those white highlights and then mix up some final colors and start to put some colors down on the panel. I also have to keep an eye on the time. It's closing in on 5 o'clock. I've got about an hour, maybe an hour and a half hike back to the truck, and I really don't want to do that hike in the dark. So got maybe another hour I can spend here on site painting without worrying about losing the daylight. As always, thanks so much for joining me. I really appreciate you tuning in and leaving a comment. Please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you want to see more of these. Alright, I drew in the little rapids. This will be a very light spot. Actually a little bit of gesso texture in the panel that's going to work out well there. It's got a little bit of a brush stroke in the gesso that's going to make the highlight on the water stand out pretty well. And what I'm going to do is, this will be bright, this will be kind of big, this will be a little less bright, a little less big, a little less bright, a little less big. Those rapids are going to recede in space. That's a way you can create a sense of depth. Same thing with these trees. This will be big, bright. This will be less big and bright. Same here, not quite as big, not quite as bright, not quite as big, not quite as bright. And that'll kind of force the eye, it'll create that illusion that there's great depth. These dark trees are a little closer than these, so they're going to have a darker value, but I'm going to keep the edges soft because I really don't want the viewer spending a lot of time distracted by detail over here when my points of interest are here, here, and here. So again, I'm just experimenting, playing with things I've heard and things I've tried before, and just using some common sense. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but it's a lot of fun trying. hours I'm going to get out here. As it gets later in the day, it's getting chillier. The temperature's really dropping. It's been a really beautiful day here on the river. Really enjoyed it. So relaxing to spend the day beside this swiftly running river, the nice music of the water. Just a great way to spend the day. Here's the finished painting. I kind of rushed at the end. It's a little rougher than I would have liked, but I think it captures the essence of the place. I got a lot of nice reference photos to refer to. I'll take this back to the studio and take a look at it again in a few days. I often find that I get a little frustrated with a painting by the time I'm done with the session. I think I just get tired. Get tired of looking at what I'm creating, and just in general tired. It takes a lot out of you to hike for a couple hours and then paint intently for a couple hours. It really exhausts you, and I think that's part of why I get frustrated sometimes with my paintings. Often when I take them back and look at them in the studio later, I see I have a lot more there than I thought, and it's not a whole lot of effort to bring out what I was trying to capture, just a little bit of refinement. So, in other words, I'm not super happy with this one. I think it's a little rougher than I wanted, but I think there is something there, and hopefully when I look at it again, I'll see what I need to do to clean it up. I think it's mainly edges. I think these edges are just too soft, and some of these edges as well, and there's not enough progression into the background. This needs to be just a little more well defined, and maybe knock down that intensity there a little bit to push it back, and maybe a little more development of this, draw it forward, and that might about do it. But I really enjoyed the day, and every painting session is a learning process. Get something out of it. As always, thank you for joining me. I really appreciate it. I hope you're staying safe and happy and healthy out there, and that we get through this coronavirus quickly, and that we're all out back hiking and painting and enjoying life, going out to dinner and movies and getting together with friends as soon as possible. And I'll see you next time.